Sonning is a very pretty village situated on the River Thames in Berkshire, close to Henley and Reading. Past and present residents include Dick Turpin, Terence Rattigan, Uri Geller, Theresa May, and of course, one Mr. George Clooney. But Sonning is also famous for a unique type of dinner theatre converted from an 18th century flour mill, where an audience of about 220 people can enjoy delicious food and then sit back and watch a comedy, a drama, or even a musical. And the owner and artistic director is my guest in conversation today. It's Sally Hughes. Hello, Sally.
Hello, darling Mark. How are you?
I'm really good, thank you. And I want to thank you on behalf of Acting for Others and all the charities that they look after, because I know you are very busy at the moment. Things are pretty tricky over in Sonning, and we'll go into that in a minute.
Yeah.
But first of all, how did the mill come into your life?
It was my mother's idea. My mother, Eileen Richards, she loved theatre. She was in Bomber Command during the war. She did the Ensa parties. You can edit that bit out. Anyway,
Entertainment.
Entertainment, thank you very much. Sang for the troops and met my father after the war. I came along. I was at drama school in the 70s at Webber Douglas. I took them to the King's Head Theatre. Do you remember the King's Head?
Yes.
Where you sat at your tables and chairs and ate, if you were brave enough to eat their food then, and watched a show. And we went to see a show called Edith Piaf, Je vous aime, with Libby Morris and Chuck Mallet. Do you remember Chuck Mallet?
Yes, Chuck Mallet, yeah.
He was my singing teacher at the time.
I went to Chuck Mallet a couple of times.
Did you? Yes.
Yeah.
He was wonderful. Even if you couldn't sing, he just gave you so much inspiration.
Yeah.
And my parents were at an age where they were thinking of retiring, about my age now. And as we came out of the King's Head, my mother said, what about a dinner theatre? A bit like the American dinner theatres, where you sat at your tables and chairs and watched a show. Because we'd grown up in South America and the States and had been to lots of dinner theatres. Right. So the idea came, and then they set about looking for the venue. And they would drive out at weekends to look at various places. And they just drove through Sonning one summer's Sunday, stopped at the traffic lights, saw the for sale sign, looked at each other, detoured into the car park, broke into the building, and found this old derelict mill. And my father, Tim Richards, was a civil engineer and builder, and they bought it. They sold the house in London, bought the mill and a house in Sonning, and took 4 years to convert it.
So when they first went into it,
yeah,
they both think, yes, it's absolutely positive and possible, because presumably the mill was in a bit of a state then, was it?
Oh yeah, it was just wood. I mean, you could see through the sunlight coming through all the wood. The bar, for those of your listeners who know the mill, the bar you couldn't actually stand up in. So when they came to convert it, they lowered the floor. Hence it does flood. And then you went up through the different floors of the mill, a hole cut in the floor, up a little ladder. And then to the very top floor where my office is at the moment, and just sky, roof had gone, sky, hundreds of pigeons. And then the actual theatre, the auditorium, was the granary. So it was just a big empty space with the floors sweeping away down to it, where the grain would pile in from the barges. And they had great vision, and they could see that it could be converted into a restaurant and theatre. And they went for it. I mean, crazy, absolutely crazy.
Crazy, but so exciting. When did they tell you about it? Did your mum ring you straight away and said, I've found this place?
Yeah, pretty well. So it was in the 70s, and I was doing a show. I'd left drama school. I was doing a show with Anton Rogers, lovely Anton Rogers at the Bush, called Are You Now, Have You Ever Been? And he became slightly involved at the beginning, but then Peter Egan became our first artistic director. So he gave it a little bit of gravitas right at the beginning. It wasn't just this mad family starting a theatre.
Did your parents say to you, listen, you're in the business, you know about all these things, it's over to you for the artistic side? And no, did you resist being involved at the beginning? Because
I did. And they bought it, and then while they were converting it, I met an American actor at drama school, and we went to live in New York and LA. And so a lot of the conversion, the time of the conversion, I wasn't actually in the country. Came back when it opened, and Peter was there, and I wasn't involved. Didn't act there at the beginning, just wasn't involved. And then Peter got this big television series called Paradise Postponed and said, actually, I haven't got the time to be artistic director. And I was pregnant at the time with my son. And that seemed a very good time to take over from him. I wasn't directing.
About what year now, roughly?
That was 1984.
Okay.
1984. So it opened in 82.
And as far as you knew, was there anything like that in the UK at that time? Apart
No.
from said, but even it's different.
It's very different. And you don't, it was Peter actually that said, when he saw the space, well, you can't ask British actors to work in front of people eating their food. So it kind of limits what you can do. Although at the King's Head, they do amazing things, because I've worked there a few times and they are pretty amazing. But yeah, so the space dictated really that there was the restaurant space and there was that space for the auditorium. Yeah.
Just amazing. Of course, when people eat, they get so engrossed in that, they don't care what's going on there. They can be, fantastic performances, but the food is more important. So it's really clever that they eat first and then they come through and watch. But the danger with that, of course, is, or could be, that people enjoy their food, have a couple of bottles of wine, because maybe they've got a taxi there or whatever, and they fall asleep when
You've witnessed that. You've witnessed that on a Saturday afternoon and a Saturday matinee. The front row fall asleep. Yes, it is quite funny, but they're great. They're wonderful audiences, yeah.
How did you know about your audience? How did you know what sort of menu, production-wise, to give them?
That's just grown. I mean, I've been there for 38 years, so you do get to know your audience, but you have to change. You can't just stick with your original audience, because a lot of those have actually fallen off the perch. So you've got to bring in a younger audience. Every theatre across the country has got to work on bringing in a younger audience, which is difficult for commercial theatre, because we are commercial theatre. We have no subsidies, no grants. We have some wonderful angels, a few. And so you have to listen to what your audience want. And when you do risk something, and you don't get the money, and you can't go to somebody, the Arts Council or your local council, at the end of the year and say, sorry, we lost money this year. So you have to listen to your audience and try carefully to bring in a younger audience. But that's hard. That's the hardest part.
Yeah.
Mm.
And of course, what you've got there, apart from a team of chefs and cooks and waiters and waitresses and bar staff and all that, and you've got your actors, and you've also got these fantastic workshops where the set is built, created, designed.
Yeah.
It's all there.
Yes. Now, I think we're one of the few theatres left in the country that has its own workshop. And we have wonderful Ian Stroud, who's our master carpenter, who builds the sets like houses. So designers love to work with him. Amazing designers. We have Michael Holt, Eileen Diss, who's got about 7 BAFTAs, Terry Parsons, just fantastic designers, as well as some young designers that we give chances to. We have a post of an assistant designer, and they get to design a show a year. So that gives them a chance to work with some great directors. But the workshop is there. You just go down the stairs from the rehearsal room. And if you want, an actor isn't sure of the height of a cupboard or the height of a door, they can just go into the workshop and test it out. And Ian will adjust things to your height, your width, whatever. Yeah, so it is great.
In other productions, and actors who never worked there, and they know that I've worked there a couple of times, they ask me about it, and I always say you'll have a fantastic time. And I say to them, do you know the best thing? If you slam a door on stage, it stays closed. The doorknob does not fall off. The windows don't shake. They are fantastic, and it's so exciting to walk as a performer. You know this. You walk on stage for that technical rehearsal, and you can either be so disappointed because it looks nothing like the model you were shown on the first day, or it's beyond beyond your dreams. And it's so lovely to walk onto a set and it's all there. You've got the challenge there, of course, for people who haven't been, of it kind of being what we call a thrust stage. So the audience are practically all around you. That presents a big challenge for designers and for actors, doesn't it?
And directors, yes, it does. It's a classic amphitheatre, really. But yes, the people in the side seats have got to get as good a view as the people in the front segment of the slice of lemon, I call it. And it's up to the director, very much, with that first meeting with the designer, and making sure actors move around and never stuck in a position. And you can't upstage at the Mill. You know, if you do step upstage of your fellow actor, it's actually rather good, because an angle is great for the side seats. So you have to throw all those conventions out of the window. And my job is, when I'm artistic director, I sort of wander around during the tech and sit in the front row. And if there's a light on a table, I ask the designer to lower the light or lower the table. Or, yes, just like.
Was it successful right from the start, or was it a slow build?
It was a fairly slow build. The first year was disaster. Backstage was very overspent. Not artistically, it was wonderful the first year. Peter did a wonderful job in bringing some great people down. We had a new play called Murder Dear Watson, which was a Sherlock Holmes, a thriller. John Moffat directing it. Fabulous cast. John Alderton was in the next production. Lovely play called Beside the Sea was the third show. But by then, we'd lost so much money by that time, because we had an administrator who was a great administrator but was more used to subsidise theatre and spending lots of money. And of course, we didn't have our audience established. And people ate after the show. There wasn't that buffet before the show.
Right.
So that was tricky as well. You had 197 seats in those days, and everyone came out of the auditorium at the same time, wanting to eat and then go home. So after 3 shows, closed it down, rethought it, reopened the next year, and then it just took off. I mean, just took off. Yeah, right from the start then. I
am so pleased that people eat first, because there's nothing worse, again, than an audience who are hungry. Get on. I can imagine, get on with it.
Yes, I know, yes. I want my steak pie or whatever.
And you also created something called hydroelectric green energy. What's that?
Well, yes, we're a mill. We're a mill with a mill stream. My father was a civil engineer, and we grew up in South America. And a lot of his projects in South America were hydroelectrics. In Argentina, he was building a dam for Costains and the Argentinian government. So he was obviously very interested in hydroelectricity. So he always talked about harnessing the power of the river. And just before he passed away in 2002, he got in touch with a company up in Derbyshire who specialised in hydroelectricity, and was talking about it. And then he passed away very suddenly. And a year later, I said to our general manager, David Vass, let's get that out of mothballs and let's look at that project again. And in 2005, we put in a siphonic turbine, which creates all of our electricity. And we also sell onto the national grid. So not only are we green, but it saves us a huge amount of money. As you know, theatre and theatre lights eat up a lot of electricity, and it's a great PR subject. You know, we can advertise it, and people love it, love to come and see it.
I think especially now, people are so into this, aren't they? They come along and they just love the fact that they're kind of supporting something green.
Yes, and also we've also got geothermal heating, which we put in 5 years ago. So if you look around all the lovely beams in the theatre, you'll see copper piping, and that's taking all the water around, heating the building, and that comes from 60 metres below. So yeah, we're very green. We're very green. Yes.
And looking over the years, has it had peaks and troughs, Sally? Have you had to look at it sometimes and think, we've got to change direction here, or I've got to ride with it for a while, it'll come back? Have there been some sort of
Yeah. Oh, yes. So then, and when we had the recession after that time, that was sort of okay. The last recession of 2008 was horrendous, and that really hit us. And it hit us, it was almost, there hadn't been a Saturday night for 20 years that it wasn't full, and we had a waiting list. And suddenly, with one play, there were empty seats on a Saturday night, and then more the following weekend. And it was strange. It can't be the play because it's commercial. And then it was just, it was just terrible. We lost 20,000 customers in a year. So we went down from 60,000 customers to 40,000 customers in 1 year. If you just sort of do the maths on that, you can see how devastating that was. So held firm. Nobody lost their job. If anyone left, we didn't necessarily replace them. We went down to a Thursday to Sunday working week. So, because to open the building costs money. Yeah. So everything was concertinaed into the end part of the week. I went down from 9 shows a year to 6 shows a year. So in that respect, creatives lost work and actors lost work because there were 3 less productions. But we kept going all the way through. And when we came out the other end, that was when I decided we had to find a new audience, refurbish the mill, and rebrand it. We couldn't just rely on the audience just coming in without having to try too hard.
Was there part of you at that time thinking, I'll just sell it? This is good land. This could make wonderful apartments by the river.
No, not at that time. No.
Right.
No, absolutely not. No.
Okay.
But funny you should say that. If you want to talk about the refurbishment that we've done, which is quite beautiful.
Yes.
I knew that a lot of it was to do with the restaurant, not just the theatre. And my best friend is a makeup artist, and she always does Gordon Ramsay's makeup, a lady called Sue Shan. And I said to her, when you next do Gordon's makeup, ask him who comes and does a Gordon Ramsay on a restaurant. So she did, and he said, look at Prue Leith's site. And their food consultant there was a chap called Chris Barber. So I rang him, and he lived just down the road. And I said, well, have you ever been to the mill? He said, no. And he was in that sort of generation that I was trying to attract, and he hadn't been to the mill. So he and his wife came. They loved what they saw. We had Enchanted April on the stage with Hildegard Neal. Lovely, lovely show. And we sat there in the restaurant with the black beams and the orange carpet and the way it used to look, which was lovely. Mm. He said, the theatre's so exciting. He said, I'd be absolutely honest with you. I said, go on, be honest, please. He said, well, this is a bit like a hotel in Torquay in the 1970s. So a bit sort of Fawlty Towerish.
Right.
I said, it's fine. So what do I do? He said,
Were you okay with that when he said that? Were you fine?
Absolutely. I wanted to know. I need 20,000 customers we had lost.
Yeah.
I had to get them back if we were going to survive. And we were coming out of the recession now. So that wasn't a reason why. Those people hadn't come back, and we weren't getting new customers back. So he said, you could just make little changes. That's not going to make any difference to your customer base, but this is what you could do. And so I jumped into it and went into it, and we refurbished the bar. Lovely 2 young designers called Meraki, 2 Greek girls who came and did a beautiful design. And we did the bar first, the foyer, rebranded everything, the website. And within a couple of years, we'd got those 20,000 customers back and more. So there's
financially, Sally, how did you do that?
I got a loan, which is being paid back. But the interesting thing is that I try to attract a few investors as well. And a lovely chap who won't mind me mentioning his name. First of all, there's Ray Clooney, who's wonderful, who introduced me to Laurie Marsh, who we all know.
Yeah.
And Laurie said, he said, I'm not going to invest any money. He said, I'm coming down. He said, you own your building? I said, yes. He said, right, enabling development. And he helped me get planning permission for 5 apartments. And we've just started building, actually, because it took 3 years to get the permission. Very difficult. It's in a flood zone. We've got bats, very rare bats. And you should be a bat right now. You're very well looked after. Yeah, we got the permission. So those apartments will be built, rented out, and that money will help in tough times, which could be around the corner. Yeah, but with the refurbishment, it's just beautiful. It's just absolutely gorgeous.
And how were you when all that was going on? You got the loan, it was all happening. Sleepless nights, or did you just...
Sleepless nights. Oh,
yeah.
goodness, sleepless nights. Yes, just sleepless nights. Yeah, and my mother, very sadly, also passed away around that time as well, which was very sad. But yes, sleepless nights. Just as we started the refurbishment, our new neighbours moved in.
I was going to come.
Our Hollywood neighbours.
Not just any old neighbour.
Not just any old neighbour. I mean, we were so lucky. Sue Hyman, our PR lady, said, you will never need me anymore because you've got sort of this built-in PR right next door.
So when did you know that it was George Clooney moving in?
Well, we were told by the previous owners that we would be very pleased with the person that was moving in, but they had obviously signed something to say that they couldn't say who it was. And we were all trying to guess. And they spent their honeymoon there. And my production manager texted me on a Saturday night at about 11:30 at night and said, Mr. and Mrs. Clooney have just walked into the Bull pub for a drink. And they had bought the house. And they moved out, and then they refurbished it. Took a year as we were refurbishing. So it all happened at the same time. And in fact, the night that we were due to reopen, it was a bit like 60-minute makeover. We weren't quite ready. And all the chaps working on their house came over and helped us. Their electricians, everybody, they came over, downed their tools so that we could open. And that's been the wonderful relationship with them since.
What a fantastic story. And of course, you've met him several times. I know he's been to see shows.
Yes, not one of yours yet.
Not one of mine.
He will, though. He will. Just that they haven't been in the country. But they're always there when we do our musicals. And this Christmas, at Singing in the Rain, they came twice. They loved it so much. Okay. He brought the whole family back to see it.
So, of course, everybody wants to know, what's he like?
Oh, he's just... both of them. You have to talk about both of them because they are gorgeous to look at, and they are gorgeous inside. They're just so lovely. They have drinks with the actors afterwards, probably spend an hour in the bar after drinking, and remembers the dresses from last time, or Lizzie Elvin and Julian, her husband. He said to Julian, everyone will think I'm having an affair with your wife. He said, I mean, he's charming, and Amal is beautiful and very clever and charming.
Of course, it must be great for them as well, for George particularly, because he's got a theatre. He lives next to a theatre. And of course, remember that he is American, so sonning with that history. Americans love all that. They haven't really got anything like that in the UK. So he's bought this, is it a 17th century house?
Yes, I mean, it was, the mill owners used to live in it.
Yeah.
So, yes. And it's been beautiful inside. Yes.
He must be very excited. But were there security problems? Because this is a super duper star. We're talking a global star here.
There haven't really been. I think they love it because the Brits are pretty cool about celebrities, and there aren't many people bothering them. And actually, they've got us there as a buffer to keep the sort of paparazzi away from them. I mean, I did, as soon as I knew they had moved in, sent a memo around to all the staff saying, no selfies, no asking for autographs, just let them be. And don't talk to any paparazzi or press. And it's been great. Yeah.
And if they're in the audience, obviously the cast are probably not aware of it because you're so into the zone of the play, but are the audience kind of looking around and seeing if he's laughing and is he enjoying it? Is it a bit
they're pretty good because they just come in right as the lights go down. So we just sort of slip them in. And yeah, I mean, there was one chap, he came out one night and said to the front of house manager, well, there's a guy in there, he looks a spitting image of George Clooney. And of course it was George Clooney. So yeah, they just sort of come in and then they go off for the interval and then come back again. So nobody bothers them. It's very good.
So you'd had the dip, then you had the vision to get somebody in and recreate it, you know.
Yeah.
Then George moves in. They've both been there.
Yes.
And then we get the current situation.
Oh.
Which came so quickly, Sally. That was the thing, wasn't it? Everybody was shocked because it was so quick. So where are you now? How's that affected the mill at Sonny?
Well, we're closed, completely closed. I don't know when we're going to open, but I think I'm planning it's going to be next spring. I mean, if some miracle happens and if there is a vaccine found and everyone gets it in October, then we will go ahead with the Christmas show. So that's still on the cards. And in fact, I actually had a chat with the director of the Christmas show, Top Hat, this morning. So we're doing the design. We're plodding along as if we're going to do it, knowing that we might not be able to do it because we might get permission to do it.
Yeah.
We might be able to open theatres with social distancing, but I have worked out a whole cash flow on social distancing where you've got maybe 70 people in there, in that auditorium, and with sort of little tables and lights on them to make it more of a cabaret space.
Oh, I see.
But of course you can't do a massive musical. It just, the figures just don't add up.
No.
So you've got to do small cast plays, concerts.
Were you able to do any work because there was still some refurbishment taking place? So were you able to do a bit of work when everything went dark? We did.
We were able to. We'd started the building. So this was the actual building of the planning permission, and we needed to start it. And because we've been held back because of these bats, we then needed to start it before the end of June. So I knew that we had to start a bit of it, and we were able to start it. In a couple of weeks' time, we'll finish that particular bit of building that we're doing. But then, you know, builders wouldn't come or scaffolders, and so we could. And I've furloughed everybody. I mean, we have almost 100 staff, not including actors and creatives, but staff at the mill, and they're all furloughed, bar 4 of them. So I've got Vanessa, my assistant, who's been doing wonderful social media and emails. We do an email every 10 days with messages, which you very kindly did one for us, which was wonderful.
Yeah.
And our accounts lady, very important, and our David and our general manager, and Mark, who's one of our restaurant managers. And between the two of them, they've kept the building ticking over.
So do you think the general feeling from the audience is we want to come back, we can't wait, or is there fear in the air?
No, there's no fear. They certainly want to be safe. And certainly before everything was locked down, as the virus started, we opened Relatively Speaking, which Robin Herford had directed. And then the virus was very much like, ooh, what's happening? And I actually sent an email out to all our customers and said, look, if you don't want to come at the moment, then please, we'll give you a credit note, which was a great PR move because suddenly more and more people were deciding not to come, especially an older generation. Yeah. So the feeling is, yes, we want to come, but when it's safe to come. We don't want to catch the virus.
No.
But so supportive. I mean, everyone's taken credit notes, and most people. It's been brilliant.
I think that's the feeling that you get when you work there, when you're part of that team for the 10 weeks. I can't remember how long each play takes to rehearse and do, but you are in this bubble. It is a sonning bubble. It's a really wonderful feeling, because generally it's full. They've had a great meal. You're on the river. I haven't done a drama there, you know, but I've seen dramas, and the dramas work because you're in this intimate setting, and the ghost stories work, and you're really, really part of it. The comedies work because you've got 220 people so near that they're with you as you're going through your stuff. You know, it is a truly wonderful feeling, and to hear those people. I've done plays there, and we've had to pause for like 10, 15 seconds while the laughter has died down, and that's a long time.
It is. No, it is wonderful. And these have you seen our big musicals that we've done?
I saw My Fair Lady.
Right, yes.
And it was just tremendous. Absolutely tremendous. And of course I thought, how are they going to do this? My Fair Lady, this is a big, spectacular musical. We go to the races, and we're in London, we're in Covent Garden, and it just worked. It just worked.
Yeah.
If you get the right people creating it and directing it, and of course the right cast, it works. It's
yeah, it's great. Yes, and that certainly brought in a younger audience, a different audience. Those musicals at Christmas. Yeah.
So looking back, I was part of the disaster. Well, it wasn't a disaster actually. It turned out to be one of the most amazing nights in the theatre when we lost the Petra. That was really very funny. We were on stage. I remember Vicky, Michelle and I were on stage, and we thought, well, it was towards the end. We thought the show must now stop. But no, you happened to be there. You came on stage and said to the audience, don't worry, we've got lanterns. We want you, the audience, to provide the sound effects. Can you do a phone ringing? Can you do a dog barking? Can you be a choir? And of course, they all just entered into it. And in the bar afterwards, people were saying, this is the best night in the theatre we've had. So that was a memorable experience. But for you, what other disasters or events stand out over the years?
Well, there was the flooding in 2002 at Christmas, when the car park was underwater and the bar was completely flooded. And we had full houses because it was Christmas. It was a Ray Clooney show. But we kept going, which was amazing. We just got everybody upstairs. It was a bit damp in the wings, and we took all the electrics, so they sort of went up, so nobody got electrocuted, and we carried on. So that was pretty worrying. And we've had a few actors. Oh, there was wonderful night. Debbie McGee tells a story that one young actor rang me at about 8 o'clock, and the show goes up at 8:15. To say I've taken the wrong train, I'm on the wrong train, and it's going to take me another hour and a half, 2 hours to get back to Sonic.
This wasn't me, by the way.
It wasn't Mark. No, it wasn't Mark. And so I was thinking, no, what? So I rang Paul Daniels, who lived in the next village, and Debbie, and I said, hello, what are you up to this evening? He said, well, I've just sat down to supper, excuse the accent, and he said something. He said, you want me to come over there, don't you? And I said, yes. And I explained the situation. So he came straight over, and he entertained the audience for about an hour and a half with magic tricks and comedy. And then the actor turned up, and off we went. So we've never really cancelled a show. I think I could count the times we've had to cancel a show on one hand in all those years. There's always been somebody, maybe me, that goes on with a book. There's always somebody that
could be occasionally in a hat. Who cares?
Yes. Royce Mills has been on a few times. Darling Royce, yes.
You've had some great names there. Judi Dench has walked on that stage. Adam Faye.
Yes. Mark Curry.
Who? Yes. He gets everywhere. Anthony Valentine.
Oh, Anthony Valentine. What a wonderful actor.
Yeah.
What a wonderful actor.
Dulcie Gray and Michael Dennison, they've been on that.
Yes, they have. Yes.
And so many great names coming to that theatre to see things, because it's such an event. You know, you get your food. It's a great place to just be. You know.
Yes. It is.
So as we speak right now, you're confident about the future of the mill.
I am. Yes, I have all sorts of plans in place. To begin with, it was difficult knowing, plan A, plan B, plan C. Plan A would get discarded once you realised it was with us for longer, and then plan B got discarded. The government furlough scheme has been great for us, and I have a scheme where I can bring my crew back in August to do something, which I won't talk about too much now, but I'll tell you about later, and to keep us all busy. And hopefully by August, we might start to plan next year and start selling tickets for next year. Yes.
And you should know about the musical going ahead by when, would you say?
Well, again, by August.
By August, okay.
By August, I think that's
this in June, by the way. We're at the beginning of June right now, and anybody watching this, it's June 2020.
Oh, right, okay.
That's where we are. So by August this year, you will know about the musical Top Hat.
Yeah, I think. I mean, if it looks like nothing's going to happen, and we're going to have to, we can open, but it has to be socially distanced. Did you see that photograph in The Guardian the other day with all the theatre seats taken out? It looked so sad. I think we could open, but not with Top Hat at Christmas. We could open with Relatively Speaking, which is a show with the set is still there on the stage. The actors are raring to get on it.
Yeah,
everyone's raring to go. So we might just start up that. We've got the programs printed, the cast rehearsed. We just need a week's rehearsal, and then we could be off again.
Well, that's the thing to remember, isn't it, throughout all this, that everybody, as you just said, is raring to go. The audience definitely want to go to the theatre again. Absolutely.
Yes, they do. Yes.
And actors, we can't wait to get back out there and do what we do.
Yeah.
And you, as a theatre owner and all the staff and everybody wants to work. We can't wait. So basically, overnight, as soon as you say, right, next week we're on, everybody will be there, hopefully.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
Which is
absolutely.
a really optimistic note to end on.
Yes.
Sally, thank you so much for giving up your time.
Oh.
And for anybody who hasn't been to the mill at Sonning, just go down there. Give yourself plenty of time to get there because the traffic can be a little bit heavy, but once...
Yeah. Not at the moment, it isn't.
It's about the only time, yeah. Once you get there to that lovely mill on the river and have your delicious food and the bar and then walk through and see the show, it's just a great experience. And you never know, Mr. Clooney could be there watching as well.
He could be.
Some people would find very exciting indeed. Thank you, Sally. Continued success with the mill.
Thank you, darling Mark. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And if you're watching this on the Acting for Others YouTube channel, just take yourself back to the website, Acting for Others, hit the donate button, and that will take you straight to the Just Giving page, and just give whatever you can just to help performers and entertainment professionals in our industry who are going through a bit of a bad time right now, but hopefully not for long. Thank you, Sally. See you soon.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you so much for watching that conversation. If you've enjoyed it, please go to the Acting for Others website, which is actingforothers.co.uk, and hit the donate button, which will take you immediately to the Just Giving page. And please give as little or as much as you possibly can to help those performers and people in the industry who really need your help financially right now. Thanks a lot.